All right, welcome to Court of Public Opinion. I'm Rick Roberts. It is Super Tuesday, and you got to get involved, folks. You know, he's not a Washington insider. He's not a career politician. He's can I say this, a normal guy, just like you and me. He's a very successful San Diego businessman, entrepreneur. He's looking to show Susan Davis the door, and God bless him for that. He's been deeply impacted and troubled by the growth of the government, its intrusion in the private sector on business. And that's basically what spurred him to run for Congress. He understands that government's role is to facilitate free enterprise, not to distribute San Diegans' wealth. That's not what it's about. And David, do we have something from Susan Davis? I think Susan Davis wanted to respond to this, did she not?
Buenas tardes a todos. Yo los escucho.
Well, that didn't do anything for me because I don't speak Spanish. But my guest is Matt Friedman, running against Susan Davis. Mr. Friedman, thanks for being with us. How you doing?
Good morning, Rick. Can you actually believe that Election Day is here?
No, I can't. I absolutely can't. We've been talking about it forever, and here we go. The polls have been open now for an hour and 10 minutes.
I think these past 3 weeks, I cannot be more excited than here about. We've been putting about 20-hour days, and I think my body has finally hit a wall at the right time, and thank goodness. And it's just been such an honor out there talking to the tens of thousands of voters because it's time for this country to heal itself, and we need to get this country back on track. Or my goodness, what is 2011 going to look like?
I've been saying it for a long, long time. I believe the upcoming midterms are probably as important as any presidential race we've ever had, for a lot of different reasons. I know a little bit about you. You don't believe that government should be bigger than the people they serve. You don't believe they should be injecting themselves into the private sector. You're against amnesty for illegals. You're for reversing socialist trends of this current Congress, by the way. You think Obamacare is a disgrace, and you realize that government's like the mafia, your money or your life. I guess that's one way to put it.
That's one way to put it there. And it's, we look at everything that's out there, and when we talk to the voters, they say, we hear of regulatory reform, insurance reform, or health care reform, or immigration reform. I am fighting for just enforcement reform, to enforce the rule of law that's on the books. I mean, we are just killing our small businesses. And I have a plan to get us back on track with that. We don't enforce our immigration laws. Just enforce the laws on the books. I mean, that's what I call enforcement reform. We have everything. It's not the responsibility to say, if we fail here, let's add 9 more agencies to fix this. No, just do the job that's on the books.
It sounds so simple, but going through the maze of political agendas on a daily basis, why is it so tough?
I think it has to go back to the difference between, is it the government's responsibility to fix the economy, or is it private sector? In the private sector, and being in the private sector, we are motivated by, one, making sure that our employees do well, that we produce a good product to stay in business because we have mortgages to pay and bills to pay, and third, we want to contribute to the American dream. In the government sector, you look at it and saying, how do I keep my job, and how can I keep my job to hit retirement? I'm not going to Washington to go say, can I go get a job to get to retirement age? No, I see my friends, I see my family struggling out there saying, just help us get our businesses to go. Let the banks start lending again. Let the small businesses not be crushed by these oppressive taxes. Let's make it a consistent playing field by enforcing the immigration laws. And Matt, you're the man to do that. And that's, the biggest question is saying, okay, we believe in you now. How are you going to defeat Susan, this 5-term incumbent? Well, I'd say, send me to take her on. Vote for me in the primary because we have an army of volunteers that have been trained in the primary. That's what the primary is for. It's to train them and get them to go and become this veteran army of people that are ready and dedicated to the cause to making America great and bringing down one of Nancy Pelosi's biggest puppets, Susan Davis, and making the 53rd District proud.
Well, all right. You tell me. Let's pretend I've never heard of you. I have, but let's pretend I've never heard of you or FriedmanForCongress.org or any of that. Why? Well, it's almost laughable to ask this question. Why are you better than Susan Davis for the people in the 53rd District?
Well, I think most importantly is the true belief in the Constitution. That we are sent to Washington to take an oath to defend the Constitution. It was a beautiful document that was written over 200 years ago, and we need to defend that. When we have Congress people in both parties who've gotten away from that, they should be thrown out. Second, my business background and having been in the private sector, just like our founding fathers, our country is founded on that principle that drives to make America better. And finally, it's that tangible, proven work ethic. I think you're judged by what you say, but you have to back it up by your work. And we have been out in that district being able to bring everything together to listen to the voters, which Susan Davis doesn't listen to the voters. And so over the past 18 months, we've been out there listening to the voters saying, this is what we'll do if elected. And people start saying, I'm starting to see this. You are practicing what you preach. And those are the three big reasons right there that would say, how can we be different than Susan, and what are we going to do to make this country better and make 53rd just a thriving city, part of the city of San Diego, and get it back on the map and get people employed again.
I ask everybody the same question. What are you going to do differently, and what is your vision? Because you have to have a vision. How do you plan to bridge the gap? I mean, because politics is a very strange thing. I've got a lot of friends that are congressmen and people in Washington, and no matter what your intent, once you get there, you roll up your sleeves, you find out that everything runs by a different set of rules. How do you plan to bridge a lot of those gaps and get something done?
Let's say that I think 90 to 95% of the people that go to Washington turn into rank-and-file members. They haven't had the background to be able to create a consensus. Our country is built on consensus, not compromise. We're Republican. We're built on consensus. So as a businessman, I've had to do that my whole life across all the different sectors to say, how can we allow everybody to win, but sticking to our convictions and sticking to a principled goal? And that's something that if you go to Washington, I admire Congressman Ryan, on the Budget Committee. Look at what he's doing. He's sticking to his convictions, and some people don't like him, but they respect him, and he's getting things done. Congressman Ron Paul, look at what he does. He still gets things done because he knows what he's talking about, and I believe I can follow in those footsteps. I tell people out there, if you're going to put me into a submarine, I'm going to crash it into the bottom of the floor. You put me in a kitchen and say, make an 8-course meal, we're ordering pizza. I've been training for this my whole life in regards to business to say, how can now I serve my country and be able to get this economy back on track? And that's, you have to start with the know-how. If you don't have the know-how, you're doing nothing.
All right. Bottom line here. Well, the 53rd District, for those of you that don't know, includes the heart of San Diego, stretches south to the Mexican border, east to the city of Lemon Grove, and just to the south, I guess at the bottom of Dictionary Hill, there's a little community of La Presa, is how you pronounce it. Across the Coronado Bridge, the 53rd District stretches west and south to the cities of Coronado and Imperial Beach. Huge, huge district. And you think you have a plan to make this a better place for all of us?
Oh, I know I have a plan, and that's the fact. The big thing, like I talked about at the top of the interview, is the enforcement reform. As a freshman congressman, you start enforcing the rules on the books. You start holding people accountable for the rules, like immigration. The government is there to make things consistent, not to give handouts, but to give everybody that opportunity to succeed, not be given good of the opportunity. And so those are things that we would bring. And, I look at it this way. When I'm asking the voters that are listening right now for your votes, there's so many things that we can bring to the table. You have a large veteran crowd. I'm the only candidate that said, wanted and demanded to be on the Veterans Affairs Committee. So you combine that for the respect of our veterans, the business background, and the work we've done in the primary. I'm a great candidate for everybody to take on Susan Davis, and I'd be honored to earn your votes in this upcoming election today.
All right, everybody. My guest, Matt Friedman, running against Susan Davis. I'll give you the name again. Remember it today. Matt Friedman, running against Susan Davis. You want more information? FriedmanForCongress.org. Just that.
Thank you, Rick.
That simple. I appreciate it very much. Let us know how things are going for you throughout the day. We appreciate it for you. It's Super Tuesday, 18 minutes after the 8 o'clock hour. We're right here with you on 760 KFMB, and of course, the CBS affiliate News 8. We're keeping on top of all the events going on